Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. This is a very important town hall meeting, which I called. As you all know, first of all, my name is Councilman Chaim Deitch. Thank you very much. If you can't pronounce my last name, it's okay. People have called me worse names. It's okay. But I just want to say that since I'm elected, we have heard about a proposed site at the Trump Village Shopping Center of a proposed development going up. It started off as a rumor, and now it's factual. So I felt it's important to have the developer come out to basically let us know what the proposed plan is for this development, because we need to know. We have many people who live in this community for 40, 50 years. And when something comes up, it's important for us to know what is being taken away. For example, my district, which is Midwood, Sheepshead Bay, Brighton Beach, Luna Park, Trump Village, Manhattan Beach, and Brighton Beach. I probably have the highest senior population in the entire city of New York. Seniors are very important to me. I grew up with seniors. My father was a chef, and nursing homes, and I grew up with seniors, so seniors are very important, and we know that many in my district are walking with canes, wheelchairs, and when it comes to certain necessities, such as shopping, right, we need something right there nearby in the community for people to just buy necessities. Now at the Trump Shopping Center, we have banks, we have a post office, we have shopping, we have a discount store, we have many stores that we use each and every day. And there's a number of issues that I have with this proposed development, which I'm not going to get into right now. For example, the shopping, the contamination of the soil at certain parts of this development. And we need to make sure, and most importantly, I need to make sure as the elected representative that you have the necessities and basics that you need each and every day. Our senior population, our drugstores, and we have to make sure that when it comes to public safety, that it's done in the right way. And first of all, at my office, I probably have more staff members than any city council member in the city council. And I have a great staff, very responsive, and I always tell people that if you don't get the answer that you're looking for, you could call up and ask for me directly. I will sit down with everyone anytime. I don't shy away from issues, I don't shy away from problems. Now, as you know, every 10 years there's redistricting, and Trump Village, Luna Park, and Breakwater Towers, this is all new to me a year ago. I had a very, very tough election. I worked hard, I showed the people how caring I am, that I care for each and every one, no matter where you live. And the message came across, and I was elected. And I'm proud and honored to be your representative here in the City Council. Now, I don't want to sit here till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't want you to sit here till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, so we're going to move with the program. So first, I'd like to acknowledge our controller of the City of New York, Scott Stringer, who's going to say a few words in a moment. Audi Pagan, who is also here representing the controller. Yoel Lefkowitz, Office of the Public Advocate, Tish James, please stand up here. Rita Rinos, Chief of Staff to Office of Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. Linda Lupia, Office of Assemblyman Alec Brasney. Alex Slater, Office of Senator Leanne Serino. We're expecting Councilmember Mark Draper shortly, Steve Seltzer and Richard Burak, Office of the Borough President. Where are you? There's somewhere. Stephen Moran, Chairman of Committee Board 13. And then we have representatives here of the Department of Environmental Conservation, and representatives of the developers, as well as National Grid. By the way, this is the first meeting tonight. There will be another meeting with New York State DEC on the 28th of this month, right here, starting at 6 p.m. And once again, because of the urgency of this town hall meeting, I will once again supply buses at multipart, Trump Village, Bright Water Towers, and at Wargas. And we will give out that information. And if you have Facebook, you could go on my Facebook page to get very important information of the things that I do every single day in the City Council. And if you have Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter. I know many seniors, and probably all seniors, don't have Twitter. But if you do, if there's a child in you, then you can follow me at Ian Deutsch. So our first presentation, our first speaker, first I'd like to ask our City Controller to please come up and say a few words.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm very honored to be here. The first thing I wanted to say, however, is that you really have the hardest working council member in New York City. Tom Joy really works hard at City Hall, but he always watches out and protects his community. And I'm here, like many of you, to express my concern and my opposition to this development at Trump Village. And I want to tell you why. This project that's currently proposed will dwarf the surrounding community with a 40-story tower, casting shadows over cherished open space and apartments. I'm concerned because we also have overcrowded schools. PS 100 is a perfect example. Overcapacity, 116%. That's not good. And we need more shopping, we need more opportunity, but we also have to preserve and protect this incredible community. This neighborhood has gone through a lot, and the city should be making things easier. And this development project raises real concerns, but I would tell you, as controller, it also raises serious fiscal concerns to me. Because when you plop a 40-story building into a community and think that that's going to spur economic development, that's going to create jobs, that's going to create livability, that's usually not the case. We need community-based planning. We need to have rational development. We need to make sure that there's a consultative process. And I wanted you to know that I feel strongly about this, and I wanted to come here personally and tell you we're going to be working closely with the council member. We're going to make sure every dot is I, a T is crossed. How about every T is crossed, every I is dotted? Let's give it up for getting it right. And we're going to keep coming back to make sure that we have balanced development in this community. The skylines of our city change, and they must, but they have to change in a rational way with community consultation. And lastly, nothing should be built on toxic land. We're not going to. As the person who pays out the claims in this town, we're not going to let that happen. We have to be mindful that there is a responsibility to make sure our kids are safe, our seniors are safe, and this community can prosper. So thank you, council member, for giving me this courtesy. I look forward to working with all of you, and it's good to be back in the neighborhood. I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Control, for your support. Now, first we're going to have New York State DEC that's going to discuss briefly about the contamination. And it's going to be a brief presentation because very impressed with this crowd, and it shows that you're all united and you're all concerned about the community. So, thank you once again for coming out tonight to making this evening a success. I'm sure it will be a success. So first, I'd like to ask New York State DEC, George Heitzman and Benicia Lannon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Member. Hi, good evening. I'm Benicia Lannon, and I'm the Regional Director for the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. And on behalf of Governor Cuomo and our Commissioner Joe Martens, I want to thank the Council Member for having us this evening, for arranging this session, for providing transportation, because we think it is so important that you hear from us about the details of this remediation project, and that we, more importantly, get a chance to hear from you and hear all of your concerns and have a chance to answer your question. We're pleased tonight to be joined by the director of the program in Albany that deals with these types of remediation projects statewide for manufactured gas plants. So I think without further ado, I'll turn it over to George Heitzman. Thank you, George. And we will be here, we will stay here throughout to answer your questions.
Thank you. So I'm very glad that you arranged for buses for next week's meeting. You guys can hear me okay? Okay, good. As Councilman Deutsch said, we'll do a much more detailed presentation next week with figures and charts, and we'll do a nice PowerPoint. Okay. So tonight I want to just give you a very brief overview of the site and explain our role in investigating and remediating the site. As Venetia said, I run the unit out of Albany that deals with these manufactured gas plant sites across the state. And there's about 250 of them throughout New York State, varying in size from very small ones, such as this one, to more medium-sized ones, like the one that's over by Coney Island Creek, to very large sites. There's one up at Hunts Point in the Bronx, and there's one over in Astoria, where the big Con Ed facility is. The one thing that DEC does not do is regulate proposals for new development on these sites. Our job is strictly to investigate them, to develop remedies for cleaning them up, and to make sure that those are done in a way that people do not become exposed to the contamination. We understand that you have concerns about the contamination as it stands now, and the contamination that could be released if a large-scale development should occur. We deal with this all the time throughout the state, and we understand it. So I encourage you to come to next week's presentation. I'm very glad that transportation was arranged for the presentation, and I hope to see you there. In terms of the site history, this plant operated from the late 1800s until about World War I. So contamination has been in the ground for over 100 years. It was a relatively small plant. It operated for a short period of time and was later consolidated into the much larger plant that was over by Coney Island Creek. The result of that is that not a whole lot of contamination was discharged in comparison to some of the much larger sites throughout the state. In terms of the process, we have a consent order with National Grid, who is the corporate successor to the people who operated this plant. I think it was a Brooklyn Union gas plant, and then it became Keyspan, and then National Grid acquired Keyspan. And we have an order with National Grid to investigate and clean up all of the sites that they are responsible for, of which this is one. So, National Grid will be there next week, their consultants will be there next week to give you the much more detailed presentation about what was found. Basically, the process for manufactured gas plant sites was they took coal and they would bake it and they would drive off the gas that is similar to natural gas that people use for heating, for cooking, and what was left after they baked off that gas was a tar. And that tar was typically released, discharged directly into the ground. Over at Coney Island Creek, it was actually discharged directly to the creek. One property of gas plant tar is that it is heavier than water and it sinks. It goes straight down from where it's released. And that's the case. We found at this site that it goes down to about 70 feet below ground. Okay, but it has largely gone straight down. Okay. The plant footprint, we have old historic records that show exactly where the plant was, and we match that up with the roads and the buildings that exist today. The entire plant footprint is now covered by that strip mall that you're all very concerned about. The CVS, I think there's a dry cleaner in there, there's a post office. So the strip mall is actually a little bit bigger than the old gas plant footprint. So it's entirely contained within that strip mall. And the buildings and the surfaces actually prevent people from coming into contact with this tar, because the tar has gone straight down, it hasn't traveled too far laterally. So the existing strip mall is actually a protective measure for the contamination that lies beneath it. We have to be a little concerned that any vapors that might be coming up are not accumulating within the buildings. And you'll hear next week that we did studies for the vapor that lies beneath the slab, and we did studies for the gas and the air quality within the buildings, and those will all be presented next week. So, next week's presentation is to present the results of the investigation. That's the first step in cleaning up these sites. We are not yet prepared